Welcome everyone. Thanks to those who have already logged in and are ready to kick off. I'm just going to wait another minute as I usually do and allow the rest of the attendees to get online and get settled, and then we will kick off today's webinar. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. Thank you all again for joining us. Welcome to today's CreditorWatch webinar, diving deep into payment defaults. We've obviously done a big push around payment defaults in the last few months. It's been a significant focus point for us for this particular quarter that we've just obviously finished and moved into the new one. We're putting a big emphasis on payment defaults going forward, and we want to make sure that we're communicating exactly how they work, the benefits, and we're always keen to get feedback on what can we do to change people's mindsets who either don't register payment defaults or potentially make it easier for people to register and manage them. We've got plenty of different sized clients out there, small businesses who might only have one or two a year, to large ASX listed entities that might have dozens or hundreds a month. So making sure that we provide a solution that suits everyone is certainly our priority, and feedback, as always with CreditorWatch, plays a huge part in that. So a quick welcome. My name's Patrick Coughlin. As most of you would know, I'm the MD at CreditorWatch, and I also run the majority of the webinars that we put on. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. Q&A, please do use the question box today if you've got any questions. We've got our fantastic internal sales team who are supporting us. So if you do have questions, they can answer them in real time. If it's a little bit more complicated or complex, then we'll organise an email or a phone call once the webinar is finished. So don't be shy. They're sitting, waiting, working through their lunch break, so I appreciate that. Slides and webinar recording, as always, will be sent within 48 hours, but generally our marketing team, Jodie, and our marketing team gets them out within 24 hours. Usually she's waiting on me for final approval. And the session will be approximately 30 minutes, give or take a little bit. So agenda for today, obviously really focusing on payment defaults. We really want to look at statistics, our findings. We've got a couple of case studies or success stories, as we like to call them. We should probably do a little live demo at the end, provided we've got time. And we'll obviously look at our debt collection tools and some benefits of the defaults as well. A little bit about CreditorWatch, leading commercial credit reporting bureau with over 50,000 customers, and we've got a huge suite of products now. Just in the last sort of 3 or 4 months, we've released a number of new products, including the most important one at the moment, which is PPSR Logic, which allows you to manage your PPSR registrations either from within CreditorWatch, from the PPSR Logic portal itself, and it also integrates into Apply Easy. So when you're approving an application in Apply Easy, you can actually register it straight onto the PPSR at the same time. So we're going to jump straight into a poll here, and I want to ask what the biggest hurdle to you is when you're registering payment defaults. Okay, we have plenty of people who are registering them on a regular basis. However, we get quite a bit of feedback that they don't want to register it for any number of reasons. And for me, I just want to get a better understanding of what those reasons are and run through them. And I'll start running through some I guess things to think about if you do find that there are hurdles. So no hurdle, I already register, fantastic. I'm unsure if it's legal or not. So I can say, yes, it is legal. If they owe you money, they're not paying you, you've made attempts to collect it, either sending invoices, statements, reminders. The majority of our customers, before they register a default, will inform them that they're going to register a default and threaten them with that default. That alone is often the most powerful tool, and you find a huge chunk of people will actually pay then. But yes, it is legal. There are multiple bureaus in Australia where you can register a payment default. It's very common across consumer land as well as commercial land. So consumer, if you don't pay your credit card, your home loan, personal loan, those sort of things, you can have a default registered against you, and it affects your credit rating. It affects your ability to get credit in the future. So I just want to make it as clear as possible. Yes, it certainly is legal. The next one there, I don't want to ruin the customer relationship. Yes, I totally understand that. And I think with defaults, you should be registering it towards the end of that relationship, either right at the end of it or when the relationship no longer exists. At the end of the day, if someone owes you money and they're not going to pay, that relationship, in my mind, is cooked. You really shouldn't be dealing with someone ever again if they won't pay their bills. So from my point of view, and from the feedback that we certainly get from our customer base is, once you get to that point where you no longer want to do business with them, that's a really good time to register the default. Some people wait until they've written it off, which is another good one. And look, some people, it gets to 60 days overdue and that's it, regardless of whether they're a big client or a small client or a strategic client. They have it set in stone. So certainly understand you don't want to ruin the relationship. It's about getting to a certain point along that journey of trying to collect that debt, where you need to really think about, okay, hold on a second, we're now at 4 months, 5 months, 6 months overdue. At the end of the day, I think the customers actually ruin the relationship for themselves. Register that default, get it paid. Hopefully you get it paid as a result of the registering of the default. If they do pay it, you can update the default itself and indicate that it has been settled. But certainly it shouldn't be a reason why you don't do it, full stop. Too permanent severe comes up from time to time, and it's certainly another reason. Yes, it is. It's not too permanent. It lasts for up to 5 years. Severity, I guess, is depends on how you think about it. At the end of the day, they owe you money and they haven't paid you. I think that is certainly a more severe action that they're taking, compared to registering a default against their credit file. Again, if they do pay in the end, you can update it and indicate that it has been settled. So that is certainly going to reduce the sort of weight that's put against their credit rating, so to speak, and indicates that, okay, they did end up paying in the end, which is certainly more positive than not paying at all. I've got other there. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any more on. But the next most popular one is probably time consuming, and I certainly understand that. We're all extremely busy nowadays, and hopefully this presentation itself indicates or shows why it's worthwhile investing the time. But CreditorWatch has made a lot of improvements to its user experience to make it easier to register defaults. We can upload them for you. If you've got one or dozens or hundreds, you can send them through to CreditorWatch and we'll upload them for you. We'll even update them for you in the future as well if need be. So any way we can help along those lines. If you've got any ideas around making it easier and quicker, please do let us know. With the others, we'll most likely make contact after this webinar itself and just come back to you and find out what that other is. We couldn't put a free text option in there as part of the GoToWebinar experience that we've got here that we're using. So I might just close it down. The majority of you have voted, and I appreciate there's probably multiples as well. If I could put another couple in there, I would have put time, but also multiple reasons. So I'll close that down now. We'll have a look at a quick look at the results. So a good chunk of you already registering, which is great. Legal 15%. That don't want to ruin the customer relationship certainly is the one that we hear the most. But I think if someone's not paying you, it's you certainly don't want to be trying to keep them happy. At the end of the day, they owe you that money and they should be paying you. And if registering a default is the only way to get that money, and more often than not it is, because people nowadays know that they can avoid paying for as long as possible or often forever. You can take them to court. That's another time that's a good time to register a default against them. Statement of claim, getting a default judgment is a fairly easy process in most states around Australia. But ultimately, if you're going that far, you may as well register the default first, save yourself some time and money, could result in a payment before you actually have to go to court. Too permanent severe touched on, and then we've got the other options there, which feel free to add that into the little chat box that exists in GoToWebinar. If not, we'll be in touch in the coming days to have a chat about that. So thank you for your poll answers there. jumping back into the presentation today. So what we've done here is we've pulled defaults by quarter since we launched in 2011. Now, thing to keep in mind here, and it's sometimes difficult for us to to show big increases in the number of defaults or trade payment indications, whatnot, because we are growing so fast at CreditorWatch. Ultimately, the more customers we have, the more defaults naturally that are going to be lodged. But I can tell you that the number of defaults being lodged is growing a lot faster than the number of customers we're bringing on board. So there certainly is, in the last 2 years, certainly has been a large increase in defaults being registered, taking away the fact that we do have a lot more customers. This is not necessarily an indication that the economy is struggling, and our small business risk review really goes into that and looks at it on a quarterly basis. It's not an indication that there's more debt out there. I think people are becoming more and more aware as well that defaults are a powerful collection tool, and that's certainly the feedback that we're getting from our customers. I often ask our customers when I get a chance to talk to them, what is stopping you? Why don't you register them? Or what do you want to see more of in CreditorWatch? And a lot of the time they say, oh, we'd love to see more defaults being registered. It's like, I follow that question up with, do you register defaults? And unfortunately, a lot of the time, or some of the time, people say no, we don't. So it's about being a driver of the bus as much as a passenger as well. You can't just sit there and expect people to register if you're not going to do the same. We get a nice positive cycle if you start registering. Other people see them and they'll do the same and help one another out within that CreditorWatch community. So looking at a quick analysis of payment defaults registered in Q3 2018, what we've done here is we've looked at, for every default that gets registered and ends up being settled, so paid and ultimately updated as settled within CreditorWatch, we've compared the average time between the default being registered and settlement being updated. Okay, so if we look at Q3 over the last 4 years, we can see that the days have come down significantly. 290 days, 155 days, 98 days. And Q3 2018, on average, it took 21.9 days from a default being registered to that default ultimately being paid or settled within CreditorWatch. Okay, so that is incredible proof right there as to how powerful a default is. Ultimately, you register that default, it's sending out an alert to CreditorWatch customers, suppliers who also deal with that particular entity. They are then most likely knocking back that particular debtor or closing them down, closing their credit account down with them. Or, that debtor is going off and supplier hopping, trying to supplier hop, only to find that, there's a default on their credit file and they're getting knocked back. So ultimately they come back to that original supplier and they say, hey, I want to pay my debt. Please update it to settled within CreditorWatch. Okay, so a really powerful thing there, that if it does get settled, it's only taking about 22 days. Even more interesting is looking at October itself. So we're almost at the end of October, and that 21.9 days for the quarter of Q3 has come down to 4.4 days for defaults registered in October, which is extraordinary. When I got the stats through from our dev and marketing teams, I actually had to get them to double check it. So for the defaults that have been settled in October already, 4.4 days is all it took. So it's incredible. To date as well, almost 30% of those defaults have already been paid. Okay, so it's this kind of thing where you go, I'm at the end, why not do it? You've got nothing to lose, all right? And the stats here are showing you that it's a really powerful tool to use in the collection of overdue debts. So customer success story we've got here. They asked not to be named, but quite a well-known construction company that that most of you, I think, would either see trucks going past or banners up on construction sites. We've made a big push, as we said, to get people to load debts. These guys said, look, we don't register debts, but we will register, we'll look at the ones that we've written off, so they're basically done and dusted. The relationship with the customers, certainly finished. So they actually uploaded defaults against bad debt write-offs from the previous 3 years. Now you can actually do it up to 5 years. These guys just did it up to 3 years. And they did that earlier in the year, and they came back to us just recently, I think it was last week, to let us know that one of their larger debtors that they'd written off had actually come back and settled the debt in order to clean up their credit file. Obviously, the construction industry, while it's quite big, people do talk a lot, and we've got a huge amount of construction companies using us. Obviously, got knocked back for credit elsewhere, and they're pretty desperate to be able to get that credit. Not many people operate in the cash economy in the construction industry when they're doing those big amounts. So they came back to our customer, settled their debt, which was over $50,000, so it was a huge amount, and that obviously prompted them to contact CreditorWatch to share the news and share how effective registering the defaults had been. That's ultimately paid for CreditorWatch for them for a number of years, even though they are one of our larger customers. So just another bit of another way of thinking about defaults. If you don't want to register them, when they get to that 60, 90 days overdue, have a think about, debts that you've written off over the last couple of years, and see what happens. You've got nothing to lose. It's already done and dusted in accounting, in your accounting software, accounting platform. If you do collect anything, straight to the bottom line. So it brings me to my next poll question. Have you written off any bad debts in the last 3 years? If you haven't, we'll tell you what, you're doing really, really well. Potentially you could increase your risk appetite a little bit. You might see an increase in sales even at the risk of some bad debts coming through. I've got a pretty good understanding that this is going to be extremely high, yes, but I'm always interested to see, and I always like to have the stats to back up the ideas that I have. So pretty overwhelming so far. Thanks for those jumping on straight away. We're at 80%. I'll close it down because I don't think it's going to change much more. And what we see, 99% yes. So I think straight away you can go, you know what, if I haven't registered a default yet for whatever reason, or maybe I do register them, let's have a look at all of my written off ones from the past, 3 years, 5 years, up to you. Load them up, nothing to lose. Potentially you'd find that you get a knock on the door or a phone call or an email coming through saying, hey, I want to make a payment, see if I can clear this debt up and get my my credit file sorted out as well. Quick analysis of payment defaults by state. This is from last financial year. New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland. Probably no surprises there. They're really big major states on the eastern seaboard. Also where the majority of our customers come from. WA, the next one there, and then obviously the smaller states and territories making up the balance. If you do add that up and it doesn't get to 100% exactly, I have done some slight rounding just as a disclaimer there. Looking at some third-party information as well from Census and Xero. We always like to go out and hear what other organisations are saying around debt and cash flow, etc. There's certainly growing confidence out there. So the Xero's Small Business Insights report for October showed that because of an improved digital connectivity, this is actually driving business growth. Automation, technology itself is certainly helping SMEs to work more efficiently, and there's plenty of great tools out there from a cash flow point of view, be it budgeting or also automating collections as well. Xero and MYOB cloud-based accounting software makes it very easy to make sure you get your invoices out on time, and you can set up automated reminders for your statements and whatnot as well. So certainly something to think about there. And then Census Business Index, SME confidence has been at its highest since 2009, which is great. The exception, unfortunately, being Victoria, quite a large part of the market. And what's really interesting, I thought, here was the confidence within the retail sector had grown despite years and years of sort of bad news and internet, online, e-commerce really putting the pinch on them with rising rent costs as well. The no-brainer that we still hear about, however, is despite all of this, small businesses are still finding it difficult to access finance, and that's with the growth of all of those alternative small business lenders out there as well. Jumping through, power of a default. So this is something that we did a survey earlier this year, I think it was, and we asked our customers, if you were taking on a new customer, you ran a credit report on them, and you saw that there was a default there, would you engage with that company? Would you offer them a credit account? 91% said no. The small change on, the 9% small change, obviously, some of that was a yes, or some of that was a yes if, right? So, okay, we'll take them on a smaller credit risk, or the default might have been small, for example. But overwhelming, evidence there is 91% people saying there's no chance I'm taking on someone with a default. Great example of, hey, I'm a dodgy debtor. I don't pay my bills. I've got a default registered against me. I go to another supplier. I'm supplier hopping around, just get knocked back for credit. Why? Why won't you give me a credit account? Well, you've got a default on your CreditorWatch credit file. Okay, I've got to go back. Hopefully, if I settle that, I can get credit elsewhere again. So there's sort of two benefits there. One, you're protecting yourself and hopefully getting paid in the future. And the second one there is you're helping other businesses and putting a stop to these dodgy debtors going around out there. Live demonstration. So I've done this recently, and I'm sure plenty of you have joined me previously. We saw that a big chunk of you have also already been registering default, so I won't spend too much time on here. For those of you who upload an age trial balance as part of our trade program, DebtorLogic Plus, on a monthly basis, or if you've integrated Xero and MYOB, you will notice that we're actually flagging eligible defaults to you, which makes it nice and easy for you to actually register defaults. You can see which ones are eligible, select them, one, multiples, or all of the above, and simply click register default, which is nice and easy for you. The alternative is that you go to a credit file itself. In this case, I've just picked one, Acme One, Proprietary Limited. You'll see here on the right-hand side, register a default button. Click on there, takes you through to the default section. Really simple. We've again streamlined this in recent months as well. Add the payment due date, add the amount, click register default, bang, done. For those of you who are invoiced, this is what you will see. For those of you who are paying by credit card, you will need to upload a proof of debt document, such as an invoice or a statement or a letter of demand, which you can access within CreditorWatch. We do this just to verify our defaults. All are then approved or rejected by our internal team as well. Once it's approved, it gets added to the credit report itself, and also what you'll find is that an email alert will go out the next day, alerting people who are monitoring that particular business or company that a default has been registered against it. So it's a fairly instantaneous action there, and it's certainly a powerful tool that everyone should be taking advantage of. I'll click through to the debt collection tools section, which is where we'll come back to just a little bit later in the demonstration. There we go, debt collection tools. CreditorWatch has always offered a suite of collection tools, and probably about 6 to 9 months ago, we updated it and made it a little bit more automated, a little bit easier to pre-populate debt collection templates, so letters of demand, etc. And what you'll see here is the various letters that you are able to generate. So the really simple ones from welcome new customer through to reminder notice, and the more serious ones like a letter of demand. Takes you through a step-by-step process in order to generate a really nice branded personalized PDF, as you can see here as an example, which has all of the invoicing information, when it was all due, how much, and then obviously failure to comply information. So if you don't register it, default will be registered on your credit file. Plenty of different ways to pay depending on how you accept payment. That's all done when you set up your debt collection tools for the first time. So it's a really nice, easy way to do it. We do have basic templates as well. that you can access if you just want to fill it out via Word doc. And we've got some guidelines and best practices as well. So please do jump in, check out the debt collection tools section, which is included in your CreditorWatch subscription. And just some numbers here. One of the main tools that we've always offered since day one is the ability to add the CreditorWatch membership logo to your invoices and statements. Some stats we've got here: 53% increased chance of receiving payment by adding that membership logo, and you'll also reduce the time it takes to get paid by up to 7 days as well. So some good benefits there that are worthwhile trying out if you aren't already. Benefits of defaults, I think I've touched on this. It's nice and easy to do, a very powerful collection tool, and we can assist you to do that as well. Bulk upload is certainly an option for those larger organizations that are out there listening today that are customers of CreditorWatch. Get in touch with us and we can help you do bulk uploads. Coming to the end of the month, it's always a great time to do it because it tends to put a little bit more pressure on the debtors to pay, and you're a little bit more aware of who does owe you money. So please do get in contact. We can help you there. All CreditorWatch users, debt must be greater than $150 and more than 60 days overdue. We are reviewing that at the moment, and we'll potentially adjust it. We'll keep you up to date with that, making it even easier. And then for online plan subscribers, which are credit card subscribers, you need to verify your account, which is there's always a pop-up in your CreditorWatch account that will show you how to do that. If you're unsure, just give us a call. And as I touched on before, you'd need to upload a proof of debt document as well. So a quick case study. A company called Ward Packaging agreed to provide a case study about registering defaults, and to be honest, just the threat alone of registering defaults, and they had a really good response to it once they took up CreditorWatch. I think they've been with us for just inside 12 months now. So obviously the big call outs here: encourage customers to pay up, save time, money, and stress by using CreditorWatch. CreditorWatch is a response provoking tool and the best way to get through the radio silence from people who can't or won't pay. A few of the benefits here: they're collecting debt 50% faster. They're saving $250, $350 per month just on court cases, and proactively improving their debt collection strategy. So when we work in an industry like this, people tend to shop around. They figure they can just go elsewhere. By providing them with a visual of their credit rating, it shows them how a default will affect them next, and it makes them think twice about not paying. So Helen's been very good over there in WA. CreditorWatch has ended up paying for itself because now we don't have to take debtors to court. We don't waste time at work and hourly rates by sitting in a courthouse waiting to be heard. So the ability to default and threaten defaults alone has been a huge success for Ward Packaging. So we've put a link in there if you want to access that later on. Provide that in the slides when they're sent out. And that really sort of brings us to the end of the presentation today around defaults. We do have some articles online, or an article online at the moment on the blog. Payment defaults, a provocative tool that works. So some good information in there about it, as well as links and some additional stats. So please jump in and have a look. That'll be going out in our newsletter this week, which I think is going out tomorrow. There'll be an infographic as well being produced alongside of that article. For more information about the new feature, for those who are integrated their Xero MYOB or use Data Logic, there'll be a link here through to an article. We will send the presentation and video recording out in the next day or two. If you've got any questions, obviously call up or send us an email, webinars@creditorwatch.com.au. If it's sales related or if it's default related, probably best to go to admin@creditorwatch.com.au or call as well. We're certainly pushing to get a certain number of defaults registered by the end of the month. So we have been on the phones, and we have been sending out plenty of information about it, and we will continue to do that as well, because it does play a huge part of assessing credit risk for our customers. The more defaults we can get, the better educated and better informed our customers will be. So please be part of that journey in registering your own, overdue debts or written off debts, if that's what you would prefer. If you've got any questions or you'd like to speak to me direct, connect with me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email, patrick.coughlin@creditorwatch.com.au. Always happy to hear your thoughts, get your feedback, whether it's to do with defaults or not. I do want to hear about it. And one last poll question. I love my polls. Before we finish up today, this will just make it easier for us to do follow-ups as well. Do you need any help or more information on lodging defaults? If you click yes, you won't even have to bother getting in touch with us unless it's urgent. We'll get in touch with you. If it's a no, but you still want to get in touch, please do. Hopefully we can help you get your defaults registered or educate you a little bit more and calm any concerns that you may have that are stopping you from defaulting at the moment. Potentially you've got questions about default alerts that you're receiving on your customers as well and how you should be dealing with them. So don't be shy. Thank you for that. A good chunk of you have said yes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. So thank you very much for attending today. Always appreciate you taking the time out of your busy days or even lunch schedules to join our webinars. And until next time, see you later and have a fantastic end to the month. Chat to you soon.